Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. How you doing there? Okay, we got a new story for you today. This one is going to be a lot of fun. This one's called Daisy-Head Mayzie. Hope you're ready, because here we go. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true, and I hope such a thing never happens to you. But it happened, they say, to poor Mayzie McGrew. And it happened like this. Almost forgot to show you the page. Yeah, oh, geez. That would have been something. She was sitting one day at her desk in her school in her usual way when she felt a small twitch on the top of her head. So Mayzie looked up and she almost dropped dead. Something peculiar was going on there. A daisy was sprouting right out of her hair. Well, would you look at that? Maybe it means she needs to wash it a little more. Behind her was sitting young Herman Butch Strudel. This looks like a daisy up here on her noodle. Doesn't make sense. Why, it couldn't be so. A noodle's no place for a daisy to grow. Then up spoke another boy, Einstein Van Tass, the brightest young man in the whole of the class. It's a very odd place to be sprouting a daisy, but nevertheless, one is growing on Mayzie. Hey, look it, cried Butch, right here in this room. Daisy-Head Mayzie, she's bursting in bloom. Look at that. Miss Sneetcher, the teacher, came rushing up quick. Such nonsense. Some child here is playing a trick. Which one of you boys stuck that thing in her hair? You know that a daisy could never grow there. But teacher, said Butch, I saw the thing rise right out of her head with my very own eyes. Just give it a yank if you think I tell lies. It's right there on top of her head. Plain as day, anybody could see that. But Miss Sneetcher had heard quite enough of this talk. Mayzie, hold still. Let me get at that stalk. Ouch, hollered Mayzie. Quit yanking, Butch said. You're giving her pains. I'll bet that those roots go way down to her brains. It's kind of rude yanking on her head, don't you think? The kids in the class started shouting like crazy. Daisy-Head, Daisy-Head, Daisy-Head Mayzie. Children, be quiet. Good grief and alas. Miss Sneetcher was shocked by the noise in her class. I've taught in this room 20 years, maybe more, but I've never seen anything like this before. I'll have to report it. You'll just have to come to the principal's office and show Mr. Crumb. Poor Daisy being dragged all the way to the principal's office. Oh, geez, that isn't going to go well. Now the principal, good Mr. Gregory Grum, was a very wise man, just as smart as they come. He knew more than anyone else in this nation about long division and multiplication. He knew all the answers, why oceans are deep, why skies are so high and the mountains are steep. He should have the answer to this thing on Mayzie. My word, he declared, it's a genuine daisy. I've seen them quite often in fields growing wild, but never before on the head of a child. Now, what in the world ever made this thing sprout? I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. Everybody's worried about poor Mayzie there, yeah. It says here, daisies grow on the land. They grow between rocks. They also grow in sand. It mentions right here they can grow in a pot, but mention the head of a girl, it does not. Daisies, it says, sometimes grow in Alaska, also Missouri, Rhode Island, Nebraska. They grow in Japan and in Spain and Peru and India, France, and in Idaho, too. They grow in South Boston and also in Rome, but why should they grow on this little girl's dome? Seems kind of crazy. Poor little Mayzie. Say, look it, said Mayzie. It's wilting, it's drooping. How wonderful, Mayzie. It soon will be dead. You will be rid of that daisy. In just a few minutes, our troubles will pass, declared Mr. Grum. Take her back to the class. Yeah, is that what you think is really happening there? I'm not sure. Let's see. Then the principal saw a most terrible sight. The daisy was dying, and that was all right. But that daisy was part of poor Mayzie McGrew, and Mayzie was starting to wilt away too. Teacher, said Grum, you know what I think? They're both going to die. Hurry, bring them a drink. Oh my. Yeah, that's not good. No, no how. No, sorry. That Daisy, that girl's the worst problem in town. You take her away and you make her lie down. You lock her up tight in that room down the hall. There are quite a few numbers that I've got to call. Poor Missy needed a drink of water, yeah. Get Maisie's parents on the end of the line. I need them here quickly while there is still time. On the phone, Maisie's mom asked, what's all the fuss? Then, goodness to Betsy, I'll catch the next bus. See, she's got everybody all worried. A call to the shoe store reached Mr. McGrew. He answered while holding a customer's shoe. Oh, yes, this is, oh no, I really must go. Looked a little worried, didn't he? Oh, yeah. Oh, geez, that's what happens. Never can be too careful. A doctor should see her, the principal said, and an expert on plants like the one on her head. So he called Dr. Eisenbart, who said, what a trick. My stethoscope's packed. I'll be there in a tick. Wait, Doc, said his patient. I'll come along, too. My brother's a vet, and he knows this McGrew. Not sure what the vet's going to do. It's not like Daisy's a cow or something. When he heard Finch the florist grabbed for his shears, I'll be there just as soon as my truck can shift gears. Huh, guess the florist got all excited about the flowers. Yeah, okay. Quite a little story so far, huh? Meanwhile, poor Mayzie lay down on a couch. The daisy slumped down on its leaves in a slouch. But the window was open because it was warm, and the sweet-smelling daisy attracted a swarm of bees. Bzzz. Bees, bees. Oh, geez. Looks like Maisie's in some kind of trouble now. Oh, yeah. The faster she ran, the faster they flew. So Mayzie kept running. What else could she do? She attempted to hide behind Officer Thatcher, who cupped out his hat like a bumblebee catcher. The bees took his hat. Thatcher said, I'm no fool, and ran after Mayzie back to the school. It's a lot of bees up there. Principal Grum didn't know what to do. It's worse, cried Miss Sneecher, much worse than we feared. The Daisy and Mayzie have both disappeared. Behind her came charging Mr. McGrew, chased by a customer chasing his shoe. Finch the florist, Dr. Eisenbart too, Dr. Eisenbart's patient, and Mrs. McGrew. Oh, geez, that's a whole lot of people. Gosh. Then through the window with Officer Thatcher, who slammed the pane shut so the bees couldn't catch her, jumped Mayzie McGrew to the floor in a splatter with the daisy still there, except taller and fatter. Well, that's kind of exciting. My poor little daughter, the daisy, it's true. I'm going to faint, cried Mrs. McGrew. Tut, tut, said the florist, there's no need for tears just because there's a daisy between her two ears. I'll snip it right off with my sharp pruning shears. She's my patient, don't touch her, you must stand apart. We have to have room, said Doc Eisenbart. I think that Mayzie and her plant could help me get a research grant. What do you suppose that's all about? Gee, sounds like everybody's interested in themselves, huh? Then the door opened wide and the mayor stepped inside. At meetings and greetings, there was none to compare. He was best at long speeches, chock full of hot air. Oh, yeah. I promise, my friends, that if I'm re-elected, the Daisy-Head Mayzie will be disconnected. The law of our fathers is simple and sound. Daisies belong and should stay in the ground. The rest are illegal. We'll bar them from town. Yeah, I don't know. Sounds like that might be kind of hard to enforce. From the back came a voice, sometimes loud, sometimes slick, of a wheeler and dealer who knew every trick. I'm Finagle the agent. You've heard of me, I'm sure. I represent young what's-his-name and others now on tour. But Mayzie, you're so special. Please let me shake your hand. Your talent is a wondrous thing, unique in all the land. Daisy-Head Mayzie, spelled out in bright light, will draw kids in the day and parents at night. Daisy-Head Mayzie, you've got quite an act. Just stick with me, kid, and sign this contract. Your flower needs to sign too. I don't know. Looks a little bit like a shyster to me. What do you think? Yeah, jeez. Her mother said, Mayzie, don't be a fool, and the principal begged her not to leave school. But Mayzie didn't stop to blink. She signed her name in think-proof ink. And the Daisy signed too. Oh, geez, that doesn't look good. Sounds bad. Something's coming. Daisy-Head fever was gripping the nation. It had quickly become a worldwide sensation. Daisy-Head burgers and Daisy-Head drinks and Daisy-Head stockings and Daisy-Head sinks, Daisy-Head buttons and Daisy-Head bows. Mayzie was famous, the star of her shows. Fame had knocked on Maizie's door. Now she had it all and more. Piles of money stacked in tens. It's a whole lot going on there. Oh, yeah, oh geez. But what is money without friends? A dream had led her far astray. That was the price she had to pay. Mayzie McGrew ran night and day, nowhere to go, nowhere to stay, because she was sure that everyone must have written her off in total disgust. Over and over again in her head, these are the words that poor Mayzie said. I can never go home. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Yeah, it's pretty sad. Nobody loved her. Poor Mayzie McGrew. It's hard to believe such a thing could be true. And maybe that's why then this daisy above, when Mayzie below began talking of love. Well, you know about daisies. When love is in doubt, the job of a daisy is try and find out. Do you know this part? I'll bet you do. I bet you've heard it before. Yeah. They love her. They love her not. They love her. They love her not. You ever done that with a daisy or any kind of flower? Don't worry, Mayzie. They love you. They love me. Well, that's how it all happened. The thing went away, and Mayzie McGrew is quite happy today, back at her studies and doing just great in all of her subjects in room number 8. And concerning that daisy, you know that it never grew out of the top of her head again, ever. Well, it practically never popped up there again, excepting occasionally, just now and then. Oh, yeah, oh, geez, that was kind of funny. What do you think? You ever had a daisy pop out of your head? Well, I never have. And after all, I'm getting used to it. Yeah, that's what Daisy said. Last thing. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our little story. Had to come in and tell it to you so I could keep warm. Yeah, okay, because it's cold up here. All right, hoping you're having a good time. Take care of yourselves. Bye.